morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Friday. It's Friday morning. Friday. You know what that means? Nothing. It's Friday. We do this every day at 5:30 in the morning. We get up and we draw stuff. We take a toy from the toy box. Today's random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier is broccoli. We have a little toy broccoli there from Safari, so you know it's realistic. I'm surprised it doesn't actually smell like broccoli, because everything Safari does is very realistic. I'm going to spritz these watercolors real quick, make sure that they're nice and juicy. I'm going to take just a second here and turn the lights on that I forgot to do. It's important to be able to see. Seeing is believing. Okay, so broccoli. Yuckoli. I am not a fan of the little green trees. And I think that people who claim to be fans of the little green trees are brainwashed. You hear everybody say, oh, I love broccoli with cheese. No, you love cheese. You love cheese, and you sprinkle broccoli into it. Yeah. Anyway, there are people who love broccoli. The broccoli is not a natural thing. Broccoli was invented to torture children some 3,000 years ago. It was never meant to be actually eaten by adults. It was always something that they just used to torture children with. I'm sure of this. You'll never convince me otherwise. Look how easy that compromise. Look how easy that composition was. I mean, it's just a round thing with a stick on it. No. So broccoli is actually from the mustard family, and we cultivated mustard some 6,000 years ago. We started growing mustard on purpose some 6,000 years ago, and the Romans, all the way up until the 6th century BC, the Romans were making mustard to adorn their food with. They would take ground up mustard seeds, the little bitter mustard seeds, and they would add grape juice. The ground up mustard seed with grape juice and make mustard. And they were doing that 3,000 years ago, while at the same time they were cultivating other plants out of the mustard seed family. And it's not shocking to know that almost all of the plants that they derived from that are all plants that I do not like. It should not be shocking. It's kale, it's cabbage, it's cauliflower. Now I like cabbage. There's ways you can prepare cabbage that I like cabbage. I like coleslaw. I like bierok, which is basically cabbage with beef and bread. I like, my grandmother used to make cabbage rolls. Those are good. But for the most part, I mean, I'm not just going to sit around and eat a head of cabbage. But cabbage, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, what else? Collard greens. Now, collard greens are from the same plant also, the same family of plants. So if you like collard greens, that is also part of the same family. But I do believe that broccoli was something somebody said, ew, eat this flower, eat this flower. And somebody else did, and they go, ew, you like it. And he pretended to like it. so that other people would do it. So pretty sure that's how it happened. Ew, you ate the broccoli. You're gross. Not a fan. If you can't tell, I am not a fan. Just in case there was any doubt. I think my dad likes broccoli. I'm not sure because we didn't eat a lot of broccoli in our house growing up. I'm not sure if my mom likes broccoli. My wife likes broccoli, and I have a rule in my house that you're not allowed to bring broccoli into the house. And the funny thing about that is, see, for me, if you bring broccoli into the house and you put it in the fridge, I can I can smell it. I can smell it in the fridge. To me, it makes everything in the fridge smell like broccoli, which is fine if you like broccoli. My daughters like broccoli. I'm not sure if my sons like broccoli or not, but my daughters like broccoli because they're weird. And that's okay. The world needs weird people. I'm weird, but not in this fashion. This is just there's some things, even some things that are too weird for me. Broccoli is one of them. All right, I think that's all the pencil work we're going to do. Everything else is detail, and I don't want to get into the details with the pencil because then it'll be hard to get rid of them. It's not related to lettuce. If you know, when they said collard greens, when they started talking about collard greens and cabbage, if you look at where that stuff is in the grocery store, it's all next to the lettuce, but it's not related to lettuce at all. It's a completely different family. Is Claudia chatting? My mom's mentioned Claudia, but she's not showing up in my chat. I missed Claudia's comment. What did Claudia say? Is Claudia a fan? Claudia loves the broccoli. Claudia, it's okay. It's okay. The world needs different people. It's okay. We can still be friends. It's just I feel a little betrayed is all. I feel just a little betrayed is all. It's all right. But yeah, in my household, if you bring broccoli into the house and you put it in the fridge, everything in the fridge will smell like broccoli. To me. And so obviously I can't speak for anybody else, whether or not it smells like broccoli to them. But so we had a long-standing tradition that we wouldn't bring broccoli into the house. You could eat broccoli at the restaurants, but please don't bring it into the house. And then one day I came home. I used to travel a little bit for my work. One day I came home and I opened the refrigerator door, and sure enough, there's broccoli in the refrigerator. And the smell just hits me the second I opened the door. And it was like I felt cheated on. I even did an art journal page about it. About my wife cheating on me with broccoli. I'm not alone in this, by the way, just in case you were wondering. This is not just something. It's not a phenomenon local to me. There's a whole trope about kids not liking broccoli and trying to feed the broccoli to their dogs, trying to get away from having to eat broccoli. That's a whole genre of comedy in commercials and in television series sitcoms not alone in this. And it turns out that there is a group of people called super tasters. And in the 1930s, this doctor who was this researcher was studying tastes and flavors, and he accidentally spilled a vial of phenolethocarbamide. I had to write that one out. Phenolethocarbamide, or PTC. You can shorten it to PTC. And it's a very, very bitter compound, is the important thing to remember here. This is extremely bitter. And some people were immediately grossed out by the taste in the air. Not just on the stuff that they were touching and tasting. They were immediately affected by the taste of the air around them. It was that strong of a compound, and it's quite bitter. And other people didn't notice. Some people actually found it enjoyable, and they didn't notice it. And that made him realize that not everybody tastes everything the same, which, that should have been obvious. But not everything was obvious to people before it became obvious. And he labeled those people super tasters. Claudia says for her youngest, she can only make it with cheese, and that she says when you buy it in the Netherlands, it's wrapped in plastic, and that's probably why, is to keep that smell checked in. It's not like that here. Here it comes with little rubber bands around it to keep the bunches together. But he labeled that group of people super tasters. And it's interesting, globally, about 25% of the people qualify as super tasters. And it doesn't really deviate from that number around the world. There are areas where it is much higher, but when I say much higher, I mean like 30%, and then there are areas where it is lower, like 20%. But it is, on average, 25% of the people are super tasters. And there's evidence to suggest that in areas where strong bitter foods were toxic, like Northern Europe and Eurasia, is where the descendants of those folks are much more likely to be super tasters. That would be the Neanderthals. That would be descendants of the Neanderthals. And I think that's terribly funny. And I joked about it all day yesterday. I'm a caveman. It's my caveman genes that won't let me enjoy broccoli. And I'm okay with that. I think it's hilarious. But there's evidence to support it. I'm not the only one who thinks that. Claudia says she's not a super taster. My mother is. My mother ranks broccoli right up there with peas. It's interesting. The super tasters, that really came to the American purview, we really didn't. Nobody really talked about that. Everybody just assumed that you'd grow out of not liking broccoli. That was a kid thing. And then in about, I think it was 1990, George H.W. Bush was giving a speech, and he famously said that he doesn't like broccoli, and that now that he's president of the United States, he is no longer going to eat broccoli. He doesn't have to eat broccoli ever again. And the press had a heyday. President, broccoli growers around the world hate the president. And the press had a heyday with that. I can't believe you'd say you hate broccoli. Everybody says they hate broccoli at some point in their life. But you're the president of the United States. You're not supposed to say stuff like that because it affects farming. It affects industry. It affects people's livelihoods. That was the argument. And so he came out and said broccoli is a fine vegetable for those who enjoy it. And you shouldn't let one person's distaste distract from the fact that you like it and enjoy the things that you enjoy, and came just short of apologizing. Just didn't quite apologize. But he did say that he didn't like broccoli, and as president he no longer had to eat it. I am not president, and I still do not eat broccoli. I will tell you that I've tried broccoli lately, and it's not as disgusting to me as it used to be. I've managed to choke it down, but it's still not anything I would choose to eat. It's still not something I will walk into a restaurant and say, yep, I'd like to have me some of that. Got too much caveman in me. Too much that caveman genetics to let me enjoy broccoli like normal people, I guess. Can't talk, farting. Ah. Well, my back hair's got my paint. I have to be careful. I keep trying to flood and scrub this sketchbook. This is not a sketchbook that you can flood and scrub. All right. How are we doing on time? Oh, we better get a move on. We better get a move on. All right, there's that part. I remember my mom munching on raw broccoli. She doesn't eat it now, maybe because I don't buy it for her. Huh. Raw broccoli seems like it would break your teeth. That was my mother talking about her mother. There was a Popeyes cartoon. There was a Popeye, rather, a Popeye cartoon. in the 40s. I think it was the 40s, where he was in a situation where all of the spinach had been locked away or used up or something. The world where he was out of spinach, and of course he was in some kind of conflict with Bluto, and he kept talking through the whole thing. No, I'm not eating no broccoli. I eats me spinach, and that's what I eats. I hates broccoli, and he said throughout the cartoon he hates broccoli, and he wasn't going to eat it. And he's fighting Bluto, and Bluto decides to subject him to the torture of forcing him to eat broccoli. And it turns out that broccoli has the same effect on Popeye as spinach has. It made him get super strong and hulked out, and he was able to beat up Bluto in the cartoon. So that was the cartoon people trying to make kids understand that eating broccoli could make you as strong as Popeye, just like spinach. I don't think it worked, but what it did for me was it cemented the fact that even Popeye doesn't like broccoli. And if Popeye doesn't like broccoli, then why would I eat broccoli? Do do do. Do do do. So broccoli's been around for a while, though. Even in the Americas, uh, Thomas Jefferson grew broccoli in his garden, but it wasn't really popular until after World War II. It just didn't do well with the general public until the Italian immigrants started spreading broccoli around the country after World War II. So it's more popular now, of course, but we're still not the biggest consumers of broccoli. That would be China, by far, the largest consumer of broccoli. All right, let me try this one more time. I have to make sure that Ivy gets her money's worth. Plus, it gives me a chance to drink my coffee. do, do, do. So China and India grow about 70% of the broccoli in the world. Over 70% of the broccoli in the world comes from China and India, which makes sense because China consumes the most broccoli in the world at 10.5 million metric tons of broccoli annually. Is how much broccoli China consumes. India consumes 9.5, so they're right there with China with the amount of broccoli that they consume. Just missed it by about a million metric tons. but they're very similar in the amount of broccoli they consume. And, you know, there's a lot of vegetarians in the area and not a lot of Neanderthals. Not a lot of Neanderthals. That paint's still damp, so that pen doesn't want to mark there. The U.S. then comes in. So keep this in mind. China is 10.5 million metric tons. India is 9.5 million metric tons. The U.S. is uh, the third highest country in the world in broccoli consumption, and we are at 1.3 million metric tons. We only consume about a tenth, one tenth, 10% of what either China or India consumes. We only consume about 10% of what they consume. Now, mostly that is because they outnumber us a lot by 10 to 1 at least. You know, there are billions of people in China and India, and there are only 350 million people in the United States. Even fewer than that in Europe and UK. Mexico comes in after the US at 0.76 million metric tons. And then Spain rounds out the top five at 0.54 million metric tons. That's a lot of broccoli. But they still have about 25% super tasters. But why do they consume so much broccoli if they still have 25 if they still have 25% super tasters, then why do they consume broccoli? That's a sheer volume thing. That is sheer volume. 25%, I don't know how many people China has, but I think it's about 5 billion. I think there's about 5 billion people in China alone. And 75% of 5 billion people is a lot of broccoli. A lot of broccoli consumers. 75% of 350 million people is not nearly as big a number. Obviously, is not nearly as big a number as it would be in China. So that it's not necessarily that there are a disproportionate amount of super tasters in China, as much as it is simply they have a lot more people, and so there's a lot more people likely to consume broccoli. I'm gonna take this ink while it's still wet. I'm gonna spread it down this stem so that those shadows stay on that. It also helps to give it a little texture. All right. So that is my broccoli that I have drawn for you this morning. That is the tail of broccoli. I hope you also enjoyed Moon Pie's representation of broccoli. I think she's 5. Is she 5? She's either 5 or about to turn 5. She's still a baby. She's just a baby. She's just a little girl. Ah, where was I? Where's my mouse? Let's show that where it's supposed to be, right there, and stop that. So there's my broccoli as I did it. Let's see it from my perspective here. She's in kindergarten, so she's got to be 6. Let's see here. Safely eject that. Pull that out. Move that cord up out of the way so it doesn't hang down into a camera. And I think we learned the other day that if I move this, my mom's in my ear, she said like 15 times, she's 5. She's 5. Say she's 5. She's 5. She's 5. All right. Nope. So there is the broccoli from my perspective. So that's what I did this morning. She says my broccoli gets a 9.5. Claudia is saying my broccoli gets a 9.5 because it's better than the original. Yes, thank you. And my mom's saying that's because Granny knows how old the babies are. Because she's trying to tell me that moon pie is 5. So my little girl has already pulled an egg for tomorrow morning. Let's see what it might be. It is, oh, it's a gnome. It's a gnome playing a squeeze box. We went pretty in depth in gnomes a couple of weeks ago with our Gnome S. We may talk about squeeze boxes. Mom has got a squeeze box she wears on her chest, and when Daddy gets home, it says an accordionist. Accordionist is what it says. It doesn't say anything about gnomes. It says accordionist. So that's what we're going to do Saturday, August 16th. So if you're up and about Saturday, August 16th, and you're watching this and it's before 5:30 in the morning, then you're watching the trailer, and this is what we're about to draw. So stick around, we'll get right on it. But for the rest of us, I have to get ready and go to work. It is 6:02. So guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to it every day. This is my accountability to my art practice, and I get to art with my besties, and I look forward to it every day. I did kind of sleep in a little bit today and drag my feet because it was broccoli, but I think it turned out all right. So be sure and tune. Oh, and you're going to be in Spain tomorrow. Are you going to be able to watch from Spain? Are you going to wake? Oh, it's lunchtime, so you won't wake anybody up like we do here. But anyway, be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel, and then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because that gives you a chance to click the clickies, and it makes sure that we're not going to cut the lag off midstream, so that all the information gets out there. And